To my brothers and sisters in the tourism industry, this is a time to look towards the future. This is a time to examine what you have been doing, see what new things you can do, how you can diversify, how you can innovate, plan ahead. So with proper planning, we will all be prosperous in the future.
Thanks to the nation's unified response, the spread of COVID-19 has been contained. St. Kitts and Nevis, therefore, announces the opening of their border on October 31st, 2020. The success of this strategy requires effort on everyone's part. Therefore, self-health management is an important step in this process. Self-health management refers to the measures people take to manage their own health. You and I should remember to wash hands often with soap and water, or use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Avoid touching your eyes, mouth, and nose. Take your temperature morning and evening. Watch for symptoms. Persons with diabetes or hypertension are reminded to take your medication regularly as prescribed. If you have no symptoms, you may carry out your normal routine and boost your immune system. When you are outside, avoid public spaces and wear a mask at all times. If you develop symptoms, put on a mask and seek medical care. Do not take public transportation. Inform the doctor of your travel history, any contact with confirmed or suspected cases, your occupation, and whether anyone around you has similar symptoms. If you become ill, please rest at home. Wear a mask and isolate yourself from others in your household. If you share a bathroom, disinfect daily using 1 part bleach to 10 parts water. Everyone must work together to reduce the spread of the coronavirus when our border has been opened.
Thanks to the nation's unified response, the spread of COVID-19 has been contained. St. Kitts and Nevis, therefore, announces the opening of their border on October 31st, 2020. The success of this strategy requires effort on everyone's part. People from all walks of life must keep practicing social distancing. Maintain a separation of 6 feet or 2 meters indoors and 3 to 4 feet or 1 meter outdoors. If this isn't possible, masks must be properly worn. Businesses can provide hand sanitizer, conduct temperature checks, record customers' contact information, and manage crowds. Clean and sanitize high-touch areas regularly. Dividers or staggered seating can be used to maintain proper social distance. This protects workers and customers and prevents the spread of disease. We all have an individual and collective responsibility to avoid large social gatherings. These types of gatherings are deemed as super spreader events. Taking disease prevention seriously will enable a worry-free return to normal life.
Welcome back to Leadership Matters, and this is the segment where I'm inviting you to engage our panelists on the Citizenship by Investment program. Ask them any questions you might have and put forward your concerns or maybe even suggestions. So we are joined this evening, of course, we have Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, and he's joined by Les Khan, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Citizenship by Investment Unit, Mr. Dion Daniel, who is a real estate developer, and Mr. Farron Lawrence, who is an authorized service provider and entrepreneur. The phone numbers are 466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and the international line is 1-239-645-4500, and you can dial those numbers and you will be participating live on the program. We will also be taking comments and suggestions and feedback via our social media platforms. So if you're listening to ZIZ on Facebook or via YouTube, you can post your questions or comments there as well, and they will be forwarded to our panelists. We had quite a number of presentations made with quite a bit of information being shared, and I think for me what stood out was the escrow bill, which has already been passed, and the unit is working now to develop on that bill, and they have amendments that they will be putting forward. And I will ask Mr. Khan if he could just, for clarity's sake, explain exactly what the escrow bill was meant to achieve, and do you have timelines for when the amendments will be put forward?
The escrow bill came into play in 2018. We had drafted the original escrow bill with the requirements to regulate escrow agents. In doing so, the bill mandated that an escrow agent had to be authorized and certified by FSRC. In so doing, a number of escrow agents were approved, a small number I should say, and yes.
My question can take a back burner. I'm told that we have callers on the line, so we're going to go straight to our phone line. Welcome to Leadership Matters. Live. I'm sorry we lost that call, but please try again. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live. Hello? Okay, we'll move on. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Yes, I'm on, yeah. Jacqueline?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Good evening to you, the Prime Minister, and the rest of the panel.
Good evening.
Yeah, I want to thank the Prime Minister under his leadership of having our CBI program as the best in the OECS. Prime Minister, big praises to you. That is good leadership. Now, I have about 3 to 4 little short questions. Now, I would like to know, why is it our identification of the country where we were born was taken out of our passport? That's one. Second question is, why did it had to be taken out of our passport? Third question, and to whom our identification was hidden from? The last one, is it legal for our passports to be sold to any criminal person, and especially for $1 million? I would like to hear the answer. I'll listen over here. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you so much for your call. We'll take a few more calls. I'm going to ask our panelists to just make a note of the questions being put forward, and then I'll have them respond. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live. Hello? Okay, we'll move on. Leadership Matters. Yes, sir.
Hey, good night.
Good night. Welcome to the program.
I have a question. With about 20,000 adults locally, what is the limit on citizenship by investment applicants? Are we going to have 200 or 300,000 citizens without paid passports? That's the question. What is the limit?
Thank you so much for your call, sir. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Hey, good night.
Good night.
Good night, Mr. Prime Minister and everybody else on the panel.
Good night, sir.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I got this to talk about. You were talking about the 2 days VAT in December. Now, I was saying that you mean a lot to the country. Because whether the country hard or whatever, you looking out for the people. I could see that you're looking out for people. You got a heart. But when it comes to the supermarket, then, every year when the VAT come around, the people, them know the price could just go to the supermarket to buy. The woman, them especially, who buy every day and every weekend. They know they got the price in their hand, right? Like a computer. They know the price, then they know we no gone up and we no gone down. I know TDC and them do got the VAT there too, same way. Like for everybody across the board, rich and poor. And I know TDC do got 25% plus VAT. For the shopkeep supermarket and them just do as they like. And I was supposed to call in this week or four when the chamber come out from there, but I couldn't get in. Because them were the right people to talk to. But I know, when I was in my 20s, I used to be in Tabernacle. And they had Mr. Mark, Mr. Janet, and Mr. Bryce. And I'm sure you was about 9 to 10 years, maybe when you're around, I'm sure when your mother sent your shop. And when it comes to Christmas, you used to get a hammer and drink. In Kayan, Miss Buana, Miss Grant, Mr. Fraser, and all them people used to be in Kayan. And everybody used to get something. Now they will tell you they can't get nothing because they're getting from the age on them. You understand? And that's the problem we got now. Nobody look at nobody. But you're looking for them, and you're looking for everybody. You're looking for shopkeeper them, and you're looking for everybody. But somebody want to double cross you because them give you a bad name when they come home, them kind of thing. There. One other thing to ask you. I used to watch in the news and nighttime fans that I TV about 7:40. That's used to see every night, and I noticed me not see it now. I hate my Sugar City Rock, but when I lie down in my bed, I want to see news up one after the other. Think the news and then leave it to that. We want to know. So, I don't know what wrong with the part there, or something wrong with that. You know? So, I want you to look into all them things there for me. You understand? So, all the best, Prime Minister.
Thank you so much, caller. And I'm happy you were able to get in on this evening's program. I can tell those were really pressing for you. We're going to take one more call and then have the panelists respond. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Good night, Mr. Grant. Good night, Ms. Brown. Good night, Ms.
That's okay. Good evening. Welcome.
Good night to the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, and these panelists there. Good night, Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Westcott. Now, Honorable Prime Minister, I just want to commend you, as usual, and the good work you're doing to the Federation. Under this COVID-19 stress, I believe that you, the frontline workers, is really putting up a defense to this COVID, because it ain't easy at all. But Mr. Prime Minister, what I want you to do as the Minister of Security, to make sure our borders patrol night and system is perfect, and the immigration is perfect, they don't see everything. But we as citizens of this country too, that is when we see things, we say something, because we cannot afford to live illegally, and then when you look, they go into community, and you know, the COVID break out in the community. We get communities affected, and we got to end up like some of them country now, that we got to again. Lawrence, I always hear about this service provider. I want to know if those people would go out there and bring these investors in to buy the citizen shares. I think it. You understand? Because I always go service provider, and you know, I want to learn, I want to know. So just let me know that if these are the people who the service provider, is the people who go out there and bring visitors, go develop investment. And Mr. Prime Minister, you're doing a wonderful job in your cabinet and your team. I want to wish you all the best. God bless and God guidance. And people, when you all go on the bus, put on your mask. Every time I jump on a bus, almost every time I jump on a bus, we are going to come out with the business or whatsoever. Some of the bus people in the bus ain't got on a mask, and some of the bus drivers don't do with the mask. People different thing, very serious thing. When you put on it, television, put on the news, and you listen to what's going on in the outer world. It's sickening and it's heartbreaking. Anyway, you all have a wonderful night. God bless.
So we're going to have some responses now to those calls, and then we'll return to the phone lines. So we begin. Mr. Prime Minister, you're going to go first? Mr. Khan?
I thought you'd let Mr. Khan finish, but very quickly before we get to Mr. Khan, radical culture, I think, raised some issues from the past. The period 2011 to 2014 was a difficult one for our Citizenship by Investment program. And one of the travesties of the past was that the former government had deleted the country of origin field from our passport, therefore making it difficult for persons to determine the genuine identity of the holder of the passport. That, of course, led to an international outcry. And I think it was over 15 or 20,000 passports had to be recalled out of circulation because the action of the former government was highly irresponsible and was not in accordance with international best practices. Indeed, except for pariah countries, it would have been difficult to find any country that did not have such a particular field within the passport. These are now the days of the past, which under Team Unity government will never be returned. So we have passed that. On the matter of the sale of passport, that had particularly got notoriety when in Canada one person had indicated that he had paid during the period of the former administration $1 million for a passport. Think his Mogadam he was then. Again, those were days of the past. The people of St. Kitts and Nevis voted for a change in 2015, and we have put that dark period of poor governance and poor accountability with respect to our CBI program and our international relations. We have put that on a new page, and hopefully on that page we will continue for the foreseeable future. John Paul raised the matter of the VAT day and the realization of a reduction in prices. We really hope that the Chamber, and we really hope that all vendors on that particular day will pass on the VAT savings to the customers, and beyond that will give their own discount. I think that will ensure that all purchasers, all buyers, every customer then be accorded a very special pre-Christmas gift by the full realization of the full reduction of the VAT that is proposed in addition to any discount. And some vendors, some suppliers do in fact provide an additional relief discount to the VAT, and hopefully that then makes it a real good experience, a real good deal for all who are shopping. Again, you raise the practice of how in the past the suppliers, the vendors, the retailers, the wholesalers had this good spirit that at Christmas time they would reward every one of their regular customers. And we wish that that good practice of the past will continue. I believe those of the vendors who will give something, whether a ham or something extra, will find that their customers do in fact show deep appreciation to their continuing patronage. So I want to say thank you for that particular question. And we have among us, though perhaps not in that capacity, Mr. Farron Lawrence, who is still an active member of the Chamber. And hopefully that they is still some days away and he could take that to its membership and see what they will do with respect to that. In relation to the Nevis News, the chairman, Mr. Lester Hanley, has advised that for a period of time, ZIZ had technical and other issues which made it difficult for them to produce a full news program. As a result, they used to carry what was called Nevis News. You perhaps would not be aware from the outside, but we have invested significantly in reorganizing ZIZ, and I hope tonight's quality of the show is a reflection of the several $1 million that we have spent on improving the physical and organizational structure, technical capacity of ZIZ. ZIZ is now in a position where it can carry its own homemade full package. In addition, it can carry live a number of events, including its midday news or any news from any location as far as I am being advised. So ZIZ basically now can do all that it needs to do as a radio and TV station. And it does in fact, in the own judgment, constitute the news in such a way that is reflective of matters of concern to members of the Federation. So what was a part of the difficulty which they have overcome, and they are now in a position to do their own wholesale programming. I think those were the questions that were put, and I would perhaps allow other members of the panel, if they wish, to give their 2 cents or maybe 10 cents on some of these. Except I want to thank the caller for commendation for the fine work that St. Kitts and Nevis and all our people in general have been doing in response to a dangerous virus, the COVID-19. There is still a lot more work to be done in terms of more faithful compliance to the health protocols, the wearing of masks, the hand sanitization, the social distancing, and the physical distancing if we are to remain a low-risk destination. We have had some unfortunate developments, though not unexpected in terms of a number of cases, and we hope that going forward we will not have any significant surge. We expect increase, but no significant surge. A lot depends on the common sense approach being adopted by every citizen and every resident. Follow the protocol. Do the best that you can to keep yourself safe. The truth is, everywhere where there has been complacency or non-compliance with the protocols, they are now forced into lockdown. United Kingdom was forced to lock down for a full month. Italy and several other countries shortly after the general elections. Trinidad had to impose significant lockdowns in that country. And that response will become the norm once the virus gets out of control. So I want to encourage everyone, do the best that you can. Be responsible. The life that you save may very well be yours. Thank you.
We have 2 questions that still need addressing. What is the limit on applications? A caller asked about the limit on applications, and specifically for Mr. Lawrence, if service providers go out to look for investments, as in, do they actively recruit?
Okay. I can speak.
We'll go back to the phone. If you could just quickly, and then we'll return to the phone lines.
Just to deal with the question regarding how business come into the country, in relation to applications for citizenship by investment, that usually comes in through the international market agents. Those are the persons out in China, Dubai, wherever they may be, who advertise our program to potential clients, and those are the persons. So they would then get those persons in their offices to apply, and then they send those applications to us as service providers. So we don't actually go out to look for clients. In relation to, he asked about investors, we also do not seek out investors. That is usually done by Skipper, the St. Kitts Investment Promotion Agency, who will seek out potential investors for them to come into St. Kitts and then maybe do their investment under the Citizenship by Investment program.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll return to the phone lines, and let me just share the numbers with you once again if you are still interested in participating. 466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and the international line is 1-239-645-4500. Welcome to Leadership Matters. Caller, you're live.
Hello, good night.
Hello, good night.
Good night to you, Ms. Bryant, and good night to the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, the rest of you.
Good night.
What I want to ask is, what is the CBI program like? What can we expect going forward? Also, farmers benefit from the CBI program. And before I continue, Prime Minister, I want to congratulate you and thank you for keeping the CBI afloat. I can remember there was some hiccup, and you have fixed that. So maybe during your wrap-up, I know somebody asked the question about the name not being, the name was taken out of the passport or boat, so maybe you can let the people know how much work you had to put in the program to get our passport back. Also to Mr. Daniel, when can we start to see something happen here in St. Kitts? Any projects you have planned for St. Kitts? I see you spoke a lot about Nevis, and good job over there. But what about St. Kitts? What are you bringing to St. Kitts? Or what can we expect from you to bring to St. Kitts? That's all for now.
Thank you so much. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live. Oh, we seem to have lost that call, but we encourage you to call back. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Good evening. Good evening, Ms. Bryant.
Good evening.
To the Honorable Prime Minister and the panelists. I don't usually call into these programs, but I felt compelled to do so this evening because of the important nature of the discussion, which so many times we as Kittitians don't understand, and I think we don't partake in. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate both Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Daniel. I think both sons of the soil who play a significant role in the Citizenship by Investment program. Specifically, though, Ms. Bryant, I want to single out Mr. Daniel. I think Mr. Daniel at this point has alluded to all of the various administrative, the construction, the hotel staff, as well as many small businesses who have been impacted by the Citizenship by Investment programs and his developments. I think what he did not speak to is the significant direct impact that Mr. Daniel has had on the lives of so many individuals in Nevis, and I hope one day he can have that same impact on the lives of individuals in St. Kitts. I think that for many times we take individuals like Mr. Daniel for granted, and I just want to thank him for his vision, his hard work and dedication to this very, very important industry and his contribution to keeping the CBI program afloat. I think it is very significant and very important. for a local developer. I have personally stayed at the Hamilton Beach. I've had first-hand witness of the quality of the resort. I think it is comparable to any 5-star resort that I've stayed in globally. And again, I want to congratulate him for that, because many times we take it for granted. And lastly, I think that, we look at the Citizenship by Investment program and we don't realize the ups, downs, and roundabouts involved with the program. And I just want to thank, Mr. Daniel, I want to thank Mr. Lawrence, Mr. Khan, etc., for their perseverance. I think we get blows sometimes left, right, and center, but we will succeed because we are the longest standing Citizenship by Investment program in the world. Many follow us, many emulate us, but they can't compete. And I just want to thank everybody. Kudos to the government of St. Kitts and Nevis for this world-class program, and thank you to the panelists for keeping it afloat. Thank you.
And thank you for your contribution. I'm happy you felt moved to call in on this very important topic.
I felt very moved.
Don't let it be your last call, though.
I won't.
All right, we'll take a next call. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Prime Minister, this is not the first time I'm calling your show. The last time I called, my phone call got dropped off. I got deported back to your country, and that's where I'm from as well. The very first time I spoke to you was at the Bath-Air High School. You were coming back from a round table that you did on the Hispaniola. At the time, your current leader was coming back from a neck surgery. I moved to Nevis. From the time I got here, I've got people giving me all kind of crap. I even got a pastor who went to the bank and reopened a bank account that I closed, put his name on it, and made it a joint account. Tonight I had to call the Cotton Ground police station because people are prowling on my roof. Okay? Now it's for the house that I live in. Obviously the people who owns it lives in England and they don't have a problem with me living here. But from the time I come here, I've had all sorts of problems. People putting lead on my clothes, poisoning my food in the water, even destroying the packages that my family would send for me. You understand? I still live here. I don't know what's wrong with it.
So caller, is there a particular question you'd like to ask? Okay, I think we lost that call. But we'll take another call. We have time to take more calls. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Greetings to the host. Greetings to Mr. Prime Minister and the other panel. Mr. Prime Minister, the first caller raised some questions, and in one of the questions, he's talked about the birth seal that was taken out of our passports. You responded to it, but in your response, him saying, as we know, is something of the past. But at the same time, seeing that we are an evolving democracy, shouldn't there be some kind of precedence be set to avert something of that nature for the future? Because we don't know who other leader or who other politician would, or who other administration would make something of that gesture. I think also there was a saying that there would not be no commission of inquiry in the former administration. But seeing that there are evidence of things, that questionable things, shouldn't we as a people get some kind of answers to certain things? Because none of us know what reason why such action was taken of such nature. So shouldn't there be some kind of precedent be set, him coming from the director of prosecution to, look into certain matters? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Ms. Bryan.
Good evening.
Good night to Honorable Prime Minister and your guest there, Val Thomas, Bigger City FM. I have a question that I want to ask the Prime Minister. How will you say the CBI program has helped the country Has there been a downside to this program? Will we see more real estate programs or projects next year? Could you let us know, please?
Okay. He has made a note of your question. I believe we have more calls. If we do, we'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. Good evening.
Good evening.
You're live.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Jeffrey Mauritia, a.k.a. DJ Mauritia. Good night to you, Miss Bayan, and the panel.
Good night to you.
Good night, Honorable Prime Minister, my big friend.
Good night, my very big friend. How are you?
Well, I just want you to know, after you locked me down for 14 days, I'm stronger than ever, eh?
Good, that was the intention. Keep you strong and healthy.
Well, Leadership Matters is not the place for me to discuss the matters I want to discuss with you. So I just want you to make some time for us to have a conversation one-on-one.
I will, DJ.
You have my number, so just please send me the appropriate time that I can make myself available.
You out of quarantine?
I've been out of quarantine since the 21st. I actually played domino in your tournament on Sunday, but you're always late, so you didn't see me.
All right, we'll talk in twos.
All right.
Okay, DJ Mario.
So I wait for you to let me know when is the time, and I'll make myself available.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take one more call. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, just a question. I'm just wondering for persons or new developers who are trying to make a way to get to the level of Farron and Dion, persons who may have like a standalone project, a villa, is there any consideration that they could get their property approved for the CBI program? And secondly, are persons who already have properties with good value, say $2 million, could any consideration be given, special consideration for those properties fall under the CBI program, especially if they're in a quote-unquote upscale area? And finally, so Mr. Ken, what is the forecast for the CBI program going forward, perhaps in the next year or so, in terms of projections for how many you think, if this is being done in terms of forecasting, how many projects the CBI persons will be, what word I should use, perhaps buying properties to the CBI program for the next year or so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We took quite a number of calls, so we are going to have some responses now. I think that last question was very similar to a question that was posed before about what we can expect of the CBI program moving forward. So in addressing that, Mr. Khan, maybe you can also speak to that one and if there's benefits for farmers. So who would like to go first?
Unanswered with respect to the escrow bill, so maybe Les can complete with respect to that, and then any other question posed which you'd want to add your voice to.
Certainly. So with the escrow bill in 2017-2018, we implemented the escrow bill that had some major changes to the requirements for escrow agents. The primary objective was to ensure that escrow agents were regulated and that their reporting was done through FSRC. There were stringent requirements for escrow agents, so this was put in place. In addition, we ensured through that escrow bill that there would be segregation of responsibilities. In other words, an escrow agent, service provider could not be an escrow agent for a client and be a service provider at the same time. So that separation of responsibilities. As we evolved in the escrow bill and in the program, we then mandated that funds, 100% of the funds on the purchase and sale agreement had to be placed in escrow before the unit will release a certificate of registration. That has progressed and has been implemented. And now we go to the last phase, or the most critical phase, which is to ensure that funds stay in escrow based on the level of construction that is required. Currently, we are in the revision of the escrow bill and drafting the legislation to ensure that there is a payout schedule based on construction, and this will be implemented shortly. In terms of sorry, sir.
Point needs to make that one of the objectives of the escrow bill is to ensure that people, developers, investors deliver uncompleted projects, and that money is intended for the program that is drawn from the escrow account must go towards the completion. And so we want to ensure that drawdowns reflect stage of completion. So we wouldn't have, as has been in the past, the white-headed elephants, that there is accountability, a higher standard of accountability and positive development in terms of the real estate program. I think that is what we are attempting to do through the legislative enactments as they relate to the CBI program.
Okay, certainly. And to add one more point to that, this regulation and the escrow requirements on the payout schedule will apply to all existing projects and new projects moving forward. So again, to emphasize the Prime Minister's point, to ensure that construction is completed and ensure that the client's funds are utilized for the purpose that it was intended. In terms of the CBI program moving forward over the next year, right now I have to say that the program, the CBI program, is doing very well. COVID has brought a certain awareness to the marketplace. People are looking for opportunities to give themselves a second option, an option to travel, an option to be with their family. And as a result, we have seen an increase of applications and an increase in applications both through our Sustainable Growth Fund and to our real estate pool. So our applications are increasing. As we go forward into 2021, we see a continued trend. And we also see that new markets, South Africa specifically, or Nigeria, Cambodia, Vietnam, India, are all areas that we will aggressively market and that we are seeing a lot of interest coming to the program. So we'll continue to explore this and to encourage our agents to market into those new territories.
Well, Mr. Daniel, a caller had some glowing words for you. Would you like to say anything in response? And also there was a question on whether or not you had any projects planned for St. Kitts.
Yes, thanks to the caller that called in. I really appreciate those kind words. I will keep doing my endeavor best to keep delivering wonderful projects in Nevis. In relation to St. Kitts, the government has embarked into a new area that should be coming in stream in 2021. Once those laws are put in place, then I would most likely be over in St. Kitts developing a wonderful project.
Okay, thank you so much for that. There was a question about new developers and if there was any consideration for smaller properties or their properties to be given consideration under the CBI program.
I'd like to answer that question.
Certainly.
We are currently looking at passing legislation to allow individual homes or villas to be sold under the CBI program. And this requires that the value of the property has to be a minimum of $400,000 US dollars. We are continuing to develop the legislation on that, and we will see that coming very soon or early in the new year. This covers the question that the caller asked about a plus $2 million property under the CBI. Obviously, something like that would qualify. It has to be at the high end. New developers and standalone projects. Obviously, applications for CBI projects must go through our Skipper group, and there are requirements that must be met. So I will ask that if this caller would like to engage with Skipper to get information on the new development under CBI, I'm sure they will be able to provide all the assistance required.
And finally, there was a question on whether or not there should be a commission of inquiry into how the CBI was handled previously. I would suspect that one is for the Prime Minister.
Farron.
I yield to you, sir.
All right, very quickly, in the end, really, this will be for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to determine. And I, being a politician, must respond to what the people want. We want a government for and by the people. And so if the people require something like that to be done, certainly that would be helpful. I think it will also be helpful, though, for the past leadership of the country explain why they went on the path that was so wandering, why they went on a path that lead to the most, how should I put it, difficult period in terms of reputational damage to St. Kitts and Nevis, not only with respect to removal of the field of country of origin from our passport, which led the United States of America to issue an advisory, if you will, on that particular matter, and to disassociate itself from the mischief that was being put by the former press secretary to the former prime minister, that they had sought the input from the United States of America. But we saw in 2014 that the United States Treasury, through the FinCEN advisory, tarnished the name of St. Kitts and Nevis. And unto this day, there is a financial cost to the country that is factoring when one does business with St. Kitts and Nevis. We are still suffering from the failure of the government of the past to adhere to normal diplomatic push provided to them by the government of Canada with a view to get them to tidy up on the accountability features of the CBI program. So a lot of harm was inflicted upon all the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, every one of us who now have to be in a waiting line to seek to get a visa into Canada, which hitherto, before the mischief of the former administration, that was as natural and as easy, safe for pricing, as going to Antigua or Dominica or St. Martin. No visa was required. And I believe that it perhaps would be helpful for the good governance agenda when leaders can admit their fault and to give explanation of what may have been extenuating circumstances so that we could be richer in terms of future developments of that nature. So this is a matter clearly that is still on the minds of the citizens. This is a matter in terms of whether it gives rise to prosecution. The Honorable Attorney General will have to give some advice on that. And of course, we would listen to other views on the matter. The question was asked about how has the CBI helped the country. I would hope that Farron will give some ideas on that, and then again could repeat some of the important benefits that have come to St. Kitts and Nevis. I mentioned in my own opening remarks the fact that during the peak construction of the Park Hyatt Hotel, close to 800 employees registered with the Social Security were associated with that project. Park Hyatt during construction became the single largest provider of construction work in the country, single largest, and was creating a significant proportion of work in construction. It shows what can happen when you have a successful CBI project. In its opening, Park Hyatt had over 220 employees, drawn from the island of Nevis and from the island of St. Kitts. Again, significant in a hotel, 5-star, being able to draw upon that resource pool. And with the opening also, the service providers, the Spencer Brothers, and all those who take their catches of fish and other produce. So the country, in the broadest way, benefits. And then in my opening statement, I said we want to look at how we can make this more inclusive in terms of the full range of beneficiaries. Out of the CBI program has developed opportunities for a number of professional persons as service providers. Lawyers are involved, accountants are involved, and their support staff. So a significant pool of persons are involved. The unit itself provides direct employment for about 30-odd plus employees there. So a lot of good is being done. When we look at the tremendous work accomplished under this administration with the built out of the Ramada Hotel, again, we did not recognize as much benefits in terms of employment there as a result of a contract that was put in place before us by the former administration, and which had given them certain prerogative to import overseas labor. But we did benefit in terms of the significant purchases of building material for that particular project. At one period in time, the construction activity at the Ramada and at the pier were the two largest construction projects undertaken in St. Kitts and Nevis. So these are significant developments, not only in terms of the value they add to real estate property, not only to the value they add in terms of the enhancement of the landscape, not only the value that they add to the reputation of the country as a country on the move, being able to attract brand name residential properties to St. Kitts and Nevis. All these are good events that have brought tremendous value and benefit individually and collectively to our people. The growth of the real estate component of the program means work, job for people, means the enhancement of property values generally in the country, and significant opportunities for our people. Again, I want to join in with the caller before me for commending our local developers. Dion Daniel is just one of them, and from all reports and from the caller, he has done an excellent job, and we all should commend him. Clearly, this has been an industry in which local people have and can continue to find a space of opportunity, a space to earn incomes, a space to provide for their families, a space to show that the very skill set requires to engage in a highly competitive market and industry. Those skills reside in our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and we should never take them for granted. So I want to commend him. I want to commend other local developers. We had Scott Skanes, who have made a start, and we have had others here who are part of the socioeconomic fabric of St. Kitts and Nevis. We have Dr. Ballantyne. I want to commend him because he was one of the earlier architects of the Citizenship by Investment Program. He is a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis, and he moved on to try his luck as a developer in the field. I want to let him know that we are rooting for his particular project as we are rooting for the success of every local endeavor and entrepreneurship in this country. Our people must take leadership role, and they must benefit, and they must inspire other young people to do what may appear impossible. No longer when we look for investors, we think of someone coming from abroad, not like us, but we can think of our own people. So when the teacher says he or she is going to meet a businessman, we don't conjure up imagery other than of ourselves. It's one of our own they're going to meet, because we have created an enabling environment in which our own people can become success stories. So I think these are important developments in terms of what we will see. Will we see more real estate projects? Yes, we will. I mentioned that John Giuliani from the Royal St. Kitts Hotel, more popularly referred to as the Jack Tar, that he will be engaged in development of some villa properties financed through the CBI program, among other things. There is another project with some important local input over in the Frigate Bay area, which we hope to see build out. We are expecting that we should see further work at the Galaxy project at phase 2. Mr. Lescan should be in contact with them to urge more rapid activity in terms of the construction as part of the monitoring role he should play at the CBI unit. We have good progress happening in West Bastille with the Seaview Gardens, I think it's called, property, Seaview, and that is an important one, which when all the phases would have been completed would create, I think, maybe close to several hundred hotel rooms. Now, the notion of reaching an important threshold of 2,500, 3,000 rooms will add much to our ability to commandeer the attention of those who are involved in the aviation industry. For you to get certain airlines to come, they want a critical mass of hotel rooms to be available to ensure that the guests would be well taken care of. And so this particular program is helping us to get there. And interestingly, it has drawn specific attention to us because we are dealing largely with branded properties. Again, one of the things that we need to reinforce, we want developments all over. So the gentleman or lady who wants to build a multi-million-dollar property in Halfway Tree, in Tabernacle, in St. Paul's, any area of the country should feel fit to do so. And if that person desires to achieve some benefit to sail under the CBI property, yes, we will make the necessary legislative changes to ensure sale of single property of a critical threshold, and those standards will be developed by the CBI Technical Committee. So again, it is part of what I will call our responsiveness to the market. Hearing, listening, and doing practically what reasonably can be done. I would allow, well, there is still the question which Farron perhaps will answer. How are the farmers benefiting, and how can they benefit perhaps from the CBI program? So I think those questions would be for you, Farron. You may want to add to any other issues that would have come up at this particular juncture.
At this time, what we're going to do is take a quick break, and when we come back, we have just a few questions that were asked on social media as we invited persons to participate using that platform, and I'll put them to each of you, and you can respond to them and then wrap up. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Thanks to the nation's unified response, the spread of COVID-19 has been contained. St. Kitts and Nevis, therefore, announces the opening of their border on October 31st, 2020. The success of this strategy requires effort on everyone's part. Therefore, self-health management is an important step in this process. Self-health management refers to the measures people take to manage their own health. You and I should remember to wash hands often with soap and water, or use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Avoid touching your eyes, mouth, and nose. Take your temperature morning and evening. Watch for symptoms. Persons with diabetes or hypertension are reminded to take your medication regularly as prescribed. If you have no symptoms, you may carry out your normal routine and boost your immune system. When you are outside, avoid public spaces and wear a mask at all times. If you develop symptoms, put on a mask and seek medical care. Do not take public transportation. Inform the doctor of your travel history, any contact with confirmed or suspected cases, your occupation, and whether anyone around you has similar symptoms. If you become ill, please rest at home. Wear a mask and isolate yourself from others in your household. If you share a bathroom, disinfect daily using 1 part bleach to 10 parts water. Everyone must work together to reduce the spread of the coronavirus when our border has been opened.
Welcome back to Leadership Matters, and as we roll into the final leg of the program, we have some questions and comments that came in via our social media platforms, and I'm going to put those to the panelists, and they will respond to them as well as wrap up, and that will bring our program this evening to a close. It's been quite an interesting conversation. The first one here is, it says, St. Kitts and Nevis has one of the highest stamp duty or land transfer tax rate in the Caribbean at 10%. Is it time we consider lowering this rate to stimulate more real estate's overall sales? Next, this one asks, what is the reason for St. Kitts and Nevis to start allowing the brothers and sisters of CBI citizens to be included instead of only the children of CBI citizens? How would that impact the number of citizens and the veracity of the program? This person is asking for an update on the insurance for the entire federation plan that the government, the administration had promised, and they want to know what the position is in that regard. And finally, this one asks, Mr. Prime Minister, does the government have a role to play in making sure that the VAT is not corrupted by businesses? The Ministry of Commerce should be tasked with a hotline to investigate complaints of businesses that are price gouging. So. Yes, deep and interesting questions.
This is Les Khan. I'll respond to the question on siblings and the reason or the rationale for adding siblings to our program. As we mentioned before, we maintain a very competitive advantage over a lot of the other programs. But in order to do so, we have to be aware of what other programs are offering. And we found that we were losing some market share to individuals who were applying in larger families to other programs that were offering siblings. And in order to maintain our standard and our volume, we engaged in offering the siblings, which is a brother or sister up to the age of 30 who is dependent on the main applicant or the spouse. This has resulted in a number of clients coming back to St. Kitts because they're interested in the Platinum brand. St. Kitts and Nevis is the brand that they want to have. And by being able to offer siblings as part of that family package, we ensured that we maintained our level of volume and our level of status in our overall program. This addition of siblings also meant an additional revenue to the program, both on the Sustainable Growth Fund and through the real estate. And we'll continue to see this grow out over the next year because there's a lot of interest in St. Kitts and Nevis. And Prime Minister and panel, before I wrap up, I'd just like to make one more comment, and that is that the Citizenship by Investment program has been very efficient and has contributed to the economy. It could not be done without the support of Team Unity and the support that we've gotten throughout the last 4 or 5 years. It also could not have been done without the support and the engagement of the staff of the Citizenship by Investment unit. The individuals within the unit have engaged themselves, have acted in a professional manner, and has taken on the challenge of higher volumes through the Hurricane Relief Fund, through ensuring that efficiency is maintained, through delivering on our developers and our clients. So again, thank you, Citizenship by Investment Unit, and to all the staff there. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Mr. Lawrence?
Well, it has been a pleasure to participate in this forum here this evening. I am hopeful that my presentation has helped to bring some further understanding as to the workings of the CBI industry. For an industry that is so vital to our economy, I believe it is useful for our people at all levels to understand it. And thus, I'm always happy for such opportunities to share information and to foster better understanding both broadly and deeply in our community. And with those words, I would want to bid everyone a good evening.
Mr. Daniel?
So I want to say thanks to the Prime Minister for having me on the Leadership Matters program. It was a pleasure being here. To the caller that called in, hopefully I'll be in St. Kitts in 2021 to offer a spectacular project in St. Kitts. Thanks to the panel. Thanks for being here. Pleasant good evening.
And of course, we end with Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the callers, or is it those who send via WhatsApp their questions. The one with respect to stamp duty, I do not have comparative figures with respect to stamp duty elsewhere. But the government this year took certain policy decisions to reduce the stamp duty applicable with respect to real estate developments, particularly those that are under the CBI portfolio, so to speak. And in that regard, we reduced the stamp duty from 10% to 2.5%. So that is a most significant reduction to help spur activity in that regard. Additionally, we accorded the same special concessionary rate to TDC for its housing project that is being done in Dewars in West Basseterre. So that too has a special concessionary stamp duty, and we hope that that will be passed on to ensure more affordable properties are available to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. In equal manner, we accorded the same concessionary rate to the NHC development and a special program that was being undertaken by the Development Bank as part of the government effort to improve upon property ownership and housing ownership in the country of St. Kitts and Nevis. So we are on the right track in terms of these. But we have to be careful, though, not to look at a single tax, since in countries a range of taxes could become applicable in the event of any sale or transfer of real estate or property. So to choose one may not give you the full picture, and one need to look at the overall tax policy with respect to real estate to do perhaps the best comparison. Does the government have a role to ensure that VAT is not corrupted? Yes, the government has a role, and we want to play an effective role. I'm not sure that the hotline, although it is an idea that we can't discount at this particular moment in time, but we need to have you, the people out there, advise the government, advise the leadership of any abuses with respect to any tax or any prescription of the government, so that we can take appropriate action. I myself do not have the evidence of the corruption, but if there is, we would like to know so that we can remedy the situation. What about the role of the Consumer Affairs Department in terms of price gouging? Again, we want ethical business people to be involved in doing business here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And while we understand the profit motive, we are also hoping, perhaps we are from the old school in hoping, that people have a conscience. I believe that people should not take advantage of the poor. And by and large, when there is price gouging, it is the poor in our community who suffer the most. Yes, there's a role for the Consumer Affairs Department. It should visit supermarkets and other places which sell products, and to ensure that those that are part of the critical list of items that for which there is an imposed, if you will, price markup, that these items are caught with it. The truth is, though, that the bulk of things which people buy, overall, a significant portion of them are not part of what we call the essential parcel. That is something that we need to review, because at the end of the day, man must eat to live. And food in particular, we would want to have the best possible prices. And that is why we encourage competition in certain specific areas, real estate, wholesale, because the prices must be affordable and manageable. That is in part why we made certain adjustment to VAT. That is why during our stimulus package, we ensured that certain items that were critical for health and sanitation, we brought relief in customs duties, etc. And we would hope that those will pass on fully by those entities that have been involved in the sale or trade of those items as part of the all of society approach. In terms of my closing remarks, I want to say that this has been a very good night, and it shows that we could never underestimate the high level of interest of our citizens of all walks of life in seeing the advancement of this country we all love. We have had, for example, one caller professed this was her first effort at participating in programs like these. Who would have thought that it would take our CBI program and the presence of persons like Dion, like Farron here, who are our citizens who have made significant contribution in this area, to bring a new color and a new perspective on an important matter of national development. So I feel good about this, and I want to thank the PR team for giving support to this particular theme for discussion tonight. We need to have more citizens participating constructively in St. Kitts and Nevis. The Citizenship by Investment Program was the brainchild of leaders before us in the 1980s, and I want to thank them for their foresight and to thank the Simmons administration for passing the law in 1984. And of course, successive leaders build upon the work that has been there before, and we all have. Certainly in 1984, the program had no significant impact on the fiscal affairs of the country. By 2012, it had become very significant, and it continues to be. So an idea whose time had come. We could take some pride that we, the citizens of the smallest country in the hemisphere, gave to the world an idea that made good sense. An idea that we could improve our pathway for growth and development by allowing people who meet certain targets to be able to become our citizens and therefore to contribute their resources in furtherance of national development. Many decades after, we have become the platinum brand. So hard work, through commitment to the highest level of due diligence, through great marketing efforts, which we continue to build upon, through transformation of the program and making it more user-friendly, we have become the best-known brand in the world. 3 cheers to St. Kitts and Nevis. For the next level of development, we want to bring those citizens, because hardly any of them come to St. Kitts and Nevis to live. And so when some persons express concern about the numbers, by and large the experience here and everywhere is that few of them really migrate. So there's no significant adverse development in terms of these so-called economic citizens. Mark you, we should make the point that a citizen is a citizen in law, and there is no second-class citizen contemplated by the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis. What I would like to see going forward is that we could have these persons really making a serious contribution to the socioeconomic life, whether it is building their vacation home here or their permanent home, bringing their children to study here, because we have an important group of high-quality offshore universities. For example, the Ross University Veterinary School, just to name a few. And we have other entities providing high-quality education. What if they were to come to enjoy the absolutely beautiful climate that we have here around, and by doing so add again to the quality of activities in St. Kitts and Nevis? But we want them to bring their ideas, to bring their networks, to help us move St. Kitts and Nevis forward. During the last campaign, I adopted the idea of Marcus Garvey that St. Kitts and Nevis could be and should be the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden typifies, in my view, an area which is flourishing, where people are realizing their full potential, where there is enough food, agricultural stuff, fisheries products for all to be able to have a healthy diet, where people by and large are understanding that they have a stake and a place in this country called St. Kitts and Nevis, and are doing their utmost to achieve their highest potential. We want a country where people are not satisfied with mediocrity. People want to do their best. There is a yearning to do better than the generation that went before you. It's a hard road to travel, but the wisdom that Leon gave from his father, who got it from, who it was quote you use? Martin Luther King Jr. Fly if you can. If you can't fly, then find something else. And if you can't run, then you can walk. And if you can't walk, then you can perhaps crawl. But whatever you do, you must move forward. And I want to give that message to every young person out there interested in starting a business. Take time to become a success story. Don't be impatient with the journey. Sometimes it is not, and most times, it is not for the swiftest. You have to stick with it. You have to look at other examples. Sometimes our people, as soon as they start one business, they want to branch off in so many other things that they lose focus and they don't have the resources to manage. I like to give the story of Rams, how carefully and cautiously Kishu built out the Rams empire in a manner of speaking. From the Bay Road, how many years before he felt committed to go to Birdrock? And from Birdrock, how long a wait before he went into West Barstow? You have to know your customers. You have to know the markets. And it takes time to know them. It takes time to master. Clearly with technology, a lot of information is available. But at the end of the day, perseverance in business is critical. You would have the fullest support of the government. That is right to engender this new thinking about the enormous possibilities which abound in St. Kitts and Nevis. We started the new life of the new administration with a ministry of entrepreneurship, entertainment, etc. That is one of the key areas in which we can do very well and bring the talent of so many of our young people to the fore. So the government will remain supportive, and we are listening and open to the contribution of all the St. Kitts and Nevis. Finally, it has been a challenge, and yet I accept it as an opportunity for service to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. No other time in our history have we been faced with a pandemic like what we are now experiencing through COVID-19. I want to thank the people of St. Kitts and Nevis who have shown me so much love, given me so much support, and the opportunity to lead this country at this moment of crisis. I thank God for all that He has bestowed upon me, and I look forward to continuing excellent service to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. May God bless our beautiful country, and may He bless all our citizens and residents. I thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank all members of the panel, including Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, even though this is sort of his show, and it's a privilege to be here and engage with each and every one of you on Leadership Matters. I think we had quite an interesting conversation. I really enjoyed the feedback. Thank you so much for your participation. And you can join us right here next week, Tuesday, for another edition of Leadership Matters. Have a good evening.